Best of r/malicious compliance episode 127. Subscribe for edit videos daily. This happened like 10 months ago. It came to my mind today and thought it belongs here. Some background. I work as an IT consultant in a non-technical department. I alone help implement the softwares in the department that are decided by the management and are used company-wide, 1,000 plus employees. I have a lot of responsibilities, from developing feasibility to providing support and training after implementation. We get a new team lead and he has not been fitting in well and has made blunders. After 6 months of his joining, he calls me and says I have few tasks pending on my end. I tell him I'm working on them but have been occupied lately with the bugs of system and support, providing a loan. He says that's nothing and barely 2 or 3 users get it and would take no more than 1 hour daily. He continues and tells me that if I focus then I'll do those other tasks assigned to me in 2 days. I think it's pointless to argue and say okay. Cue malicious compliance. I then start copying him in every mail and I deal with tons of emails every day and issues that require my urgent attention and intervention. And not a couple of days go by and he comes to me and starts ranting how his inbox is getting spammed by me daily. How it's a hassle for him to clean it every day and he didn't know I get so many emails every day. I say nothing and I'm smiling inside. Since that day he hasn't bothered me about not doing my assignments on time. Thank you. Next. My workplace requires some yearly trainings. One just came up and it reminded me of this. I work for a government agency. Like most government employees, ours is often underfunded and understaffed. While we often have all of the equipment necessary to perform our jobs, some of the computers, software, etc. are not recent, which can make our jobs more difficult. I also sit in a cube, and there are a few dozen people on our floor. Sound travels, so you can often hear what's going on a few cubes away. We often have all sorts of phone calls and whatnot, so a lot of people have earpieces for the phone. While you can allegedly get one issued to you, I think this is pretty rare, so most people bring one from home. I have one from an earlier job, but even so, a $10 headset works fine. I had one co-worker who is on the phone a great deal, hours a day, and had asked for a headset, but hadn't been issued one. We'll call them Leslie. Then, we all were instructed to complete a training on our computers, which consisted of a couple hours of videos. Most people used their headsets. Leslie started doing the training with the computer speakers. To be fair, Leslie did this at a pretty low volume, but still loud enough that it was audible to adjacent cubes. Someone complained, and Leslie's boss came over to ask Leslie to use a headset. Leslie responded, I've asked for one, but I haven't been issued one yet. Leslie's boss asked Leslie to bring one from home, to which Leslie responded that they couldn't be made to pay to provide their own work equipment, and that the training was due the next day. So, Leslie finished the training that afternoon, without headphones. After that, Leslie was miraculously issued a headset. Thank you. Next. I worked at a company that did amazing things for the world but had a horrible culture. I had a new product that was going through regulatory approvals, at the same time that the machine used for manufacturing broke. So I also needed the replacement to be approved for use, which was a regulatory process of its own. It was a week from hell, and by Wednesday at 12 PM I had worked my entire 35 hours/week for my salaried office job. On Friday, 9/5, my manager, Ted, had been with me a couple of those nights. He was well aware my team and I were going above and beyond. I had a dentist appointment at 3 PM on Wednesday. My plan was to leave at 2:30. Return at 4 o'clock, then work into the night since things still needed to get done. On my way out to my appointment, I have the following conversation with my boss. Ted, where are you going? Me, I have a dentist appointment, then I'll be back to calibrate the new machine by 4. Ted, I didn't approve hourly leave for you today. Me, I assumed since I've worked 37 hours this week and it's only Wednesday, that it would be okay. I have no meeting for the rest of the day, and again, I'll be back at 4. Ted, you know the policy, any leave during office hours besides lunch from 12:1 requires hourly leave request and is taken from your 16 hours of hourly leave for the year. Me, yeah, but again, not really relevant since I've banked way more hours this week alone. Ted, if you don't request leave for this appointment I'll have to terminate you. Me. Okay, thanks, I'll consider myself terminated. Have a good day. Then I walked out and went to the dentist. When I got out of the dentist, I went to a coffee shop near the office and sat there, waiting to find out if I should actually drive home. Sure enough, at 4:10 I get a call from Ted. Ted, are you coming back or what? Me. So I'm not fired? Ted, just come back. I came back, and never got asked to file another hourly leave request again. I eventually left, then explained to them if they were only willing to give me the raise I was promised a year before after I actually put in notice. It wasn't the place I wanted to work. However, they start treating their engineers a bit better after I left. Not sure how long it lasted though. Edit. Name changed. Thank you. Next. Before I start this tale, I will have to give you all the big high notes that led up to me getting this revenge. My wife, the avid animal lover, came from a family with a lot of animals, which I am cool with. I also came from a farming background, so animals were a norm for me. I told her once our kids got a little older so they could enjoy having pets that we should definitely get some. However, over time she would ask if we could have various pets, i.e. cats, dogs, fish, hamsters, rabbits, etc. I always said no because I knew that our first place wouldn't allow pets, and secondly it would fall on me to care for them, which would be a massive undertaking on top of being new parents and working the wild hours we both did. Then one day she quit asking. I came home to a huge fish tank with a handful of fish. No big deal I guess in the end. Then one day I come home to a 9-year-old beagle mix in our house. You can see where this is going, right? Fast forward to the present and we're 3 kids strong. 1 dog, a new one at that, our last one pasted away, and a dozen fish all in our new house in town. One day my wife starts on me again about wanting some sort of rodents, and I told her no, that we had a lot of expenses now and it wouldn't be a wise move, given the state of everything right now. A few days later her mother and her go shopping and bring home a mountain of stuff for a guinea pig. I was floored but I said nothing. A few days later my father-in-law stopped by and dropped off a guinea pig, and reluctantly I liked the little thing. However, at that moment it would just be a travesty if I did not support my wife's decision to the fullest of my abilities. So, for the next few days I researched everything I could on guinea pigs and had a word with her old man about getting his hands on another one for the kids as a surprise. A week later we then had 2 guinea pigs and my wife was actually happy about it. So at that moment I felt that my little revenge had fallen through, until 2 days later I made a discovery. Our new guinea pig was not the same gender as we first thought. Then all that research I did came flooding back and I hit my wife with it all. How you have to have them separated since they hit sexual maturity very quickly. New cage acquired. How the minimal space for even a single guinea pig was 8 square featuring 2 new large cages acquired. Guinea pigs are herd animals and need to have cage mates to stave off depression. 2 more guinea pigs acquired. Extra expenses. Extra expenses. Now I have a small guinea pig farm that I hand prep food for and hold each separately for 30 minutes a day. I joked with my wife, next time let's decide what animals we should get together. Thank you. Next. I was just thinking about this the other day. Backstory. My first 2 years of high school, I took Family and Consumer Sciences and was a member of FHA, which she was the sponsor of. The teacher straight up hated me. My first day in her class she informed me that there were too many people in school with my last name. There were 4 of us, one of whom had never taken a class with her, and that she wasn't going to bother learning my first name. Apart from the time I won the FHA Outstanding Freshman Award, much to her chagrin, I never once heard her use my first name. This is just to let you know how she treated me. Everything was always my fault, regardless of who was at fault. Onto the story. This was the incident that led me to quit FHA and decide not to take any more fax classes. It was my sophomore year. We were doing a cooking lab. I don't remember what we were cooking, but we had to put melted butter in the bottom of the baking dish. My lab partner decided to cut out some steps by just going ahead and melting the butter in the baking dish in the microwave. The problem was the baking dish we were using was metal. So there I was arguing with my partner about this for a good period of time. Me, you can't put a metal pan in the microwave. Partner, we do it all the time at my house. It was basically variations of that over and over. Suddenly the teacher came up to us. Teacher, last name, stop arguing with your partner. You're supposed to be a team. Me, but Mrs. Bitcherson, she. Teacher, enough. I don't want to hear you arguing with her anymore. Do you understand? Me, yes, mom. So I complied. I stopped arguing with my partner. I also left the cooking lab and walked clear across the classroom, which was basically the size of 2 rooms. Teacher, last name, what are you doing? Me, you told me to stop arguing with her, so I'm not arguing with her. I just don't want to be on that side of the room when she blows up the microwave. That's when the teacher finally noticed what my partner was attempting to do. She got a good lecture on never putting metal into the microwave. And then, teacher, last name, why didn't you stop her? I should give you an F just for that. Me, are you fucking kidding me? And I got up and walked out of the room. Thank you. Next. I am currently writing on my phone, so the obligatory apologies for any format issues must be given. I am a long-time reader of this subreddit, and this excellent post reminded me of a time I was maliciously compliant. When I was in senior school, age 11-16 for the non-British, my mother was the chair of governors at my school. For the most part there was no issue. The occasional teacher would make a joke saying to a student if they had a problem they should complain to my mother, but it was always in jest. The only time it ever caused an issue was with the maths department. I have always been very good at maths from an early age due to my father. He worked in computing and taught me how to do maths the way he was shown. It made sense and helped me be a lot quicker than most. So naturally I was in the top level class, and one of the top students in that class as well. As part of being in the top class we actually did 2 GCSEs in maths, mathematics and statistics. We had the same amount of lessons, but more workload. We had to do more coursework though, and that is where the issue came in. At the beginning of the year our teacher set us coursework, but never gave us a hand and date, confirmed by not one other student having a date written down anywhere for this assignment. The coursework was quite heavy. I cannot remember quite what it was on unfortunately, but do remember it was a considerable amount of work to complete. On a Monday my last lesson of the day was maths, where our teacher reminded us that our coursework was due on the Thursday and hoped everyone would have it complete as no one had come to him for help. After class everyone was confused and concerned. We had not been told when it was due and was a lot of work to complete. We had not been given a date and now had to write a full mini dissertation in a few days. Panic ensued. When I get home my mother asks how my day has been. As it is pressing on my mind I tell her about the panic that has developed amongst my classmates. I tell her as my mother, not thinking about a chair of governor's role. I get to work on the project as I know I have limited time to work. Staying up quite late to try and get as much done. The following day this has been pressing on my mother's mind. One of the teachers in her school has messed up in her mind, so she goes to talk to the head teacher. This results with me on the Wednesday being called to the maths department to have a private meeting with my maths teacher and head of department. When I say meeting, I mean that in loose terms. It was essentially 10 minutes of 2 grown men berating a teenage boy for going to his own mother with an issue at school. That no one else had raised concerns and no one had been to the extra study lessons after school to help with the coursework. The existence of these also turned out to be a surprise to other students. I sat calmly and explained my side, and that no one would have the work complete, which naturally they would not accept. It was of course just me. I was threatened with detention if I didn't have it complete as I would be the only one. Oh, and they also chastised me for discussing the issue with my mother because she was the chair of governors, telling me that I was not to discuss it with her further. Deadline day comes the following day, and guess who is the only one sat with completed coursework in front of them? Me. I gladly handed it in when the teacher called for the completed work. The students then reiterated everything I had said in our meeting. When I got home later that day my mother asked me what happened. To be compliant with my teachers I replied I have been told I am not allowed to tell you by my teachers. This, naturally, annoyed my mother and caused her once again to go into the school to talk to the head teacher. This resulted in another meeting between the head of department, my teacher, and the head. From all reports that meeting did not go well for the teachers. But what could they say to me? I did everything they asked. I never received an apology, but honestly the vindication was all I truly needed as they know they messed up. TL. Doctor, maths teacher messes up and doesn't tell our class a deadline. I complain to my mother, who then gets the teacher in trouble at the school. I get berated by my teacher and the department head. I get vindicated when no one hands in the work apart from me. Postscript. A few years later I was at university studying and thought it may be a good idea to become a maths teacher. My mother was still chair of governors, so got me into essentially volunteer as a teacher support in the maths department. I ended up being in my old maths teacher's lessons, where it turned out I now had more qualifications in mathematics than he did and took the class on more than one occasion. Edit. Added further details that hopefully make it maliciously compliant. Thank you. Next. My boyfriend performed this beautiful malicious compliance earlier on, but doesn't have read it. I get grey snack boxes in the post every now and then, more so during lockdown. I always share the Grays boxes with my boyfriend, to encourage him to try new things. There was one snack in particular, a hazelnut and pretzel dipper, that my boyfriend was interested to try. He loved the hazelnut dip so much that he was double dipping his pretzel sticks. Usually I would have no problem with this and usually partake myself. However, due to redacted to prevent post removal being around and because of how short he was biting his pretzel sticks before double dipping, I was concerned about the spread of germs, which is stupid of me in a way because I still kiss him etc. So I automatically came out with don't double dip, you'll spread germs. My boyfriend, being the cheeky bastard he is, just smirked at me, snapped his pretzel stick in half, and dipped each half in the hazelnut dip. With a victorious smile, he ate the pretzel stick, before saying to me technically I'm not double dipping now. Needless to say, I was speechless. TL. Doctor told my boyfriend not to double dip his pretzel stick because of germs, so he snapped his next pretzel stick in half.